Craft Box. I've created this card using our dies and one of the rubber stamps that comes with the July Craft Box. Now, since July is almost over, we hope you've enjoyed the projects that you've seen and have time to order one just in time before the month of July is over. So I want to show you really quick the dies that I've used. I haven't used all of them, but I want to share with you what's included in your kit. So you get 10 pieces of our cardstock. You get the ones that are perfect for any tropical box projects. So this one is Mermaid Kiss, Lush Leaves. You get Banana Blast and Mango Tango. I can't think of anything better for something that's tropical. You get 5 of our white cardstock, some pinks, some blues, ready to get started on your projects. The dies and stamp set that comes with it, you get 13 dies and assorted stamps. The stamps are perfect because what comes with them also is the framelits. So what you would do is you're going to go ahead, rubber stamp the image onto your cardstock or whatever you're using, and then you're going to position the framelit around it, and it cuts perfectly around it. So you don't need a pair of scissors to fussy cut around it. So it's perfectly cut, frames it perfectly right against the edge. It looks like it took forever, but all it did was one pass through the machine. The dies that I'm going to be using are the ring that comes with the set, a couple of the foliage, and one of the flowers. Also in your project box, you get your embossing powder and our embossing ink. The embossing ink is necessary if you're going to do any of the embossing with any of our powders. And our powders are perfect. They're biodegradable, and it has glitter inside, so it gives a perfect dimensional effect to any of your projects. You're also going to get our square framelits. Although I didn't use that in my project, I'm going to show you at the end something that you can do to create it. It has 8 different perfectly square dies, framelits. You could position it perfectly over a photo or a sentiment or a poem, and you know it's going to cut perfectly. Or you can go ahead and position one of the smaller ones inside one of the larger ones, kind of like a nesting, and it'll create a little frame. So it's great for framing any of your projects, scrapbooking or card making. Another product that comes with it is your maker's tape. This is great. It's a low-tech, you get 2 rolls in the package. It's a low-tech tape, and it's perfect if you're going to be positioning, for example, what I explained a second ago with the frames inside of another frame. To keep it even, you can go ahead, if you don't have the magnetic platform, use a piece of the maker's tape and lay it across, connecting the 2 framelits, so you know it's going to cut perfectly. It's not going to shift as it's going through the machine. So this is a great must-have, and it's perfect that it comes inside of your Tropical Craft Box. Some of the products I'm using that are not included in the kit, so since you're familiar with Sizzix and you know that we're known for our die cutting and our machines and our dies, bigs, and our thinlits, we also have coming out with all sorts of adhesives and rubber stamps and different tools and accessories that come and help make your projects come together a lot easier. So I'm going to be using our Express glue. It's a perfect glue. It dries really quickly. I love it. I'm going to be using our foam tape. It's a double-sided foam that it gives a little dimension to your projects. It's nice and thick, and this is a well-used roll, but the roll is pretty big in the beginning. Our double-sided adhesive tape runner, and our adhesive sheets. Adhesive sheets come 6 by 6, and when you lay a piece of cardstock on it, go ahead and die cut something, and now that image that you just cut is a sticker. So it's perfect for any intricate, say you're cutting a doily or a sentiment but has really thin detail. You want to make sure it's a sticker so you don't have to worry about putting any kind of glue on the back side of it. I'm also going to be using our glue gun accessories. It comes with a silicone mat, 5 different finger protectors, and a spatula. This is perfect because we all know that we burn ourselves whether we're using a heat gun or a hot glue gun. So this is perfect to protect your fingers and your project. I'm also going to be using our Stamper Secret Weapon. This alleviates any of the issues when you go ahead and rubber stamp something on a flat hard surface. It has a foam, so it gives and kind of molds around your rubber stamp image, so it gives a nice clean cut or stamp. I'm going to be using our our heat tool, and our funnel tray. Funnel tray, you'll see this is something that I'm going to be using with our our embossing powder. It's perfect. You put your powder or your glitter in there, powder it over your stamped image or anything with the embossing powder or adhesive, and then when you're all done, take your die cut out, open this up, and tap it over your little pot of powder. So it's perfect. You're not going to lose any, you're not going to mess up, and it saves a lot. You're not going to there's no waste, so it's great. I love that. You need the heat tool for any embossing powder. I'm also going to be using our paper sculpting kit. It comes with multiple styluses and a couple different bases. One of the bases is using the finer tip for making blades, or sorry, veins on a leaf. I'm going to be using the smaller stylus and the medium one to create a little dimension on the flowers. So if I want the flowers to have a little 3D effect, go ahead and you just do it depending on which one you want to use. If you want your flowers to be tighter, you could do the smaller size. But this is a perfect tool. Comes with the tweezers also to be used for any of your projects if you want to add dimension. The tweezers that we have are a little reversible than the ones you normally use. When you squeeze a normal tweezer, it clamps down on your project. I'm going to squeeze it and it keeps it put. So I can go ahead, lay it down, and if I'm waiting for it to dry, I can move on to something else and it's going to be drying for me, sitting right there. So that's great. The kit, the sculpting kit, comes with scissors. Doesn't come with a die pick, but we all have a die pick, so this is perfect. So this is a must-have that I love to use. So let me grab my glasses and get started on the project. So what I did for the card is I cut a piece of the white cardstock 7 inches by 8 1/4, and then I did the Mango Tango cardstock 2 3/4 by 7 1/4, and then the white 2 1/2 by 7. You could obviously do any size. You could do the basic A size, A2, A4, A6, or have a vertical card, however you want. It could be this way too, but I went ahead and did it in a horizontal. So it's a little different shape, long and narrow, which is kind of fun. Get something like this in the mail, usually it's a bill instead of something attractive like this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead, I have this already started. I have my, just to save time, the paper's already scored in half and I've already put my Mango Tango on top there. But what I wanna do next is go ahead, what I like to do is do the part that's gonna take the longest. So this ring here, I'm gonna die cut the ring out of white cardstock. I also have the adhesive sheet on the back, so if I didn't want to use the foam tape to make it dimensional, it's already a sticker, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut that. But at least I know the ring is gonna be a sticker, and then the circle is the part that's gonna be the extra leftover that I'm gonna stamp the word today on. So I'm gonna do, since our machines, you're familiar with our Big Shot probably, this is our Big Shot fold away. This is one of the machines that I love because it folds up, it's compact, and you can store it anywhere. But it has 2 sides that have a little storage area. You can put your die pick in here, you can put some of your dies that you use a lot in here, or you can put some snacks in there, which is fun. Just have something on hand in case you get a little hungry. So since it has a 6-inch opening, I'm gonna go ahead and put more than one on here at a time. Okay, so I'm gonna do this one. You always wanna make sure your blade is against the good side of your paper. Especially, it's a good rule to remember if you're going to be doing something that has a word, otherwise your word will be backwards. Okay, so I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to do the flower. And this one I put the adhesive sheet on the back of 3 different strips. I'm only going to use these 2 right now, but now I know once I cut it, those leaves are already going to be a sticker, which saves a lot of time. So you put that little palm frond there, and since this one is going to be positioned off a little bit, I can either cut it afterwards, or I don't mind if it's hanging off already, but let me go ahead and position it right there on that. And then for this one here, since there's a good amount of pressure on the Big Shot fold away, I'm going to do 2 at a time of our cardstock. So I'm going to put that right there in the center, and look how much I can do all at one time. So as you're familiar with our machine, you're going to need to use a cutting pad on the bottom and one on the top. Everything's ready to go. And go ahead and run it through. The crackling, don't worry about that. It's just your blade hitting the paper that it's cutting and against the rollers. It doesn't ruin your cutting pad or your blades at all. So I'm going to go ahead, take these off. Now, if you're familiar with any of our newer products, you'll know that since I'm cutting all these pieces, they're definitely going to be having other products that we have that have something coordinated. We have glitter, we have embossing powder, we have foam, sculpting foam, which is perfect. So I cut 2 at a time, and since the pressure was so good, there we go, they bound each other together. So we have all sorts of materials that can coordinate with all these. So this leaf is now a sticker. How perfect is that? I don't have to worry about any kind of adhesive now. It's ready to go. And same with this one. Take this little piece off that I don't need. Okay, let me set these aside. So these are ready to go. Get my little flower out, put that with the other flowers. And I'm going to use this same bigger leaf one more time. This is what you need the die pick for. So if you see our poke holes in our thinlits, they're perfect for our die pick. It goes right in there and it pops out all these pieces, because once I go ahead and cut it, sometimes it doesn't come all the way out. It cut it, but you have to make sure you take it out. So that's perfect for the die pick. Goes right through those poke holes and it's ready to reuse again. Cut one more dice like this. I'm going to position it off because it's okay that it's partly cut. And get my other cutting pad. I'm going to go ahead and run it through. Okay, so all the cutting's done. Plus I have a few more that I cut in advance, so we don't have to worry about those. So what I'm going to show you next is when I cut that ring, this is the part that I'm going to use my embossing powder with, okay? So I'm going to have the embossing powder that I'm going to be using. Let me put these aside because I don't need this space. Bring this over here. So I'm going to go ahead and place this onto my embossing ink pad. And I'm just going to press it just to kind of soak it up a little bit. I just want to make sure that it's damp, because this is what's going to be adhered, or not adhered. This is the part that's the ring around the word today. So make sure it's all nice and damp. And then I'm going to go ahead and pour this on top. Looks like I'm wasting it, but don't worry. Okay, now I'm going to take my tweezers. And I'm going to tap it off. You see the glitter on there? Okay, I'm going to put this on my heat-resistant mat here. And with my tweezers, I'm just going to open it up to release it. And then I'm going to use my little spatula here and just hold it down. And with my heat gun, our heat tool has multiple speeds. It has 2 speeds, so I'm going to use the hotter speed. And you'll start to see the texture. It starts to almost look wet and glossy, and then you'll see the glitter start to really show through. Kind of melts it a little bit and the glitter starts to show. And the heat resistant mat and the spatula are perfect because I'm not getting burned and I know it's resisting onto the mat itself. Okay. Can you see the glistening of it? Okay, I'm going to put that off to the side. And let me show you what I was talking about with this. So I'm going to go ahead and tap this. I like to tap it down to one side. Oops, got a little bit out. It's got a long funnel, so you make sure it's not in there when you're pouring it out. And then pour it back in. Look how much I'm not wasting and how much I saved by not having to toss it. How great is that? You want to make sure you do this because the next one I'm going to do, I don't want it to pour out. Okay, put the lid on there. So I did the same technique with the leaves. I'm not going to go ahead and do it, but when I rubber stamped the leaves, when I die cut the leaves, I went ahead and did the same technique with the Lush leaves, embossing powder. So same idea, I went ahead, ran it through, cut it, and then dampened it with the embossing ink and gave it the same texture, same technique. So that's going to be the same idea. Now what I'm going to do is, with that one circle that I cut, that came out of the circle, I'm going to go ahead and rubber stamp the word today. So I use our acrylic block. I'm also going to be using the embossing powder again. Make sure it's nice and soaked. Now, just because I'm me, I'm known for getting a little embossing ink around here, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that on. Now you can't see it because it's a clear embossing powder. Put that back in the tray. I actually should have left the silver in there. I mean, the Earl Grey in there, but. Oop, unfortunately, I see my little fingertips on there. So one trick that I like to do sometimes, if that happens, is use a basic blank, empty, clean, never used paintbrush, and that should do the trick. Okay, I'll clean that up later so you guys don't have to watch me do that. Oops. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same idea here. You can see the word today. Perfect. Nice and shiny and glittery, ready to go. Okay, now it's time to start assembling. Let's get this card started. Let's get this party started. Now, since I'm in California, I thought, how great would that have been if I could have done this in the backyard? We got palm trees back there, but I can't imagine bringing all my tools and accessories back there, so I decided it's probably not a good idea. So with my narrower piece here, the reason I didn't adhere it onto the card yet is because I want the dies, the die cuts that I had already cut to hang off of it, and then I could trim it around here. So it's trimming, it's hanging off of where I trimmed it, right off the white edge, not off the Mango Tango edge. So that's why I went ahead and did it that way. So what I want to do first is take my ring that I had cut and embossed, and do a little puddle of glue here. My fast drying glue, of course I didn't get it unplugged before I started. Put a little glue on there. And I'm gonna, this is the part where my fingertip touched and pulled off the embossing powder. Just gonna, that's where my flower arrangement's gonna be. So there's always room to hide something in the craft world, right? Okay, so that's ready to go. That's in the center. I'm gonna take my today. I'm gonna go ahead, oopsie, excuse me. I'm gonna cut up a couple pieces. And I'm going to put it on the back. Very sticky. I love our adhesive tape. And just peel it off. Oh, this is the one that I used the adhesive sheet on. I forgot, so I'm just going to peel that off. So when you're trying to figure out what color will go with which cardstock, or I want some beads, sequins and beads, we have those too, and they're all coordinated, so it's perfect. You don't have to try to match it up because you know for sure we have it ready to match with all of our other products. So go ahead, stick that down. Okay, next I'm gonna take some of the leaves that I already cut. Sorry it's upside down, but it's my best way of being able to see it. So I'm going to just trim it. You could use any colors. I mean, look at the colors of the assortment that you're gonna be able to get inside of this kit. It's perfect. Adhere that down. Peel that backing off. Do a little straight edge here. Actually, I want the edge to be the other direction. And then I had previously cut this little mermaid kiss leaf. Do another little puddle of glue. Throw it off to the side. So another fun idea I think that would be great for you guys to do would be if you did something, just say, cut a bunch of pieces for friends, deliver them to their houses, pick a time, and that they have all the pieces cut. How fun would that be to do a Zoom or some kind of a craft day just to hang out with each other? They have all the pieces ready to go, and they're the lucky ones that you did it all. So that would be a fun project to do, just to have, since we can't do any crops or any, we've got to do our social gathering, it's kind of a fun thing to do, just to keep your creative juices flowing and still hang out with each other, but through social media. So that would be kind of fun. Let me go ahead and assemble these here. I'm kind of doing it backwards since I'm looking at it backwards, but you guys get the idea, I'm guessing. Just trim off the straight edges. I'm going to have this one sticking out of the word today. Just kind of tuck it under there like that. And then for my little flowers, oops, that goes on that side. Let's keep it up there. My flowers that flew over here. What I like to do is, I had shown you how to do these, but since I have the other ones ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this one to here. So it doesn't matter how you do it, you know it's going to work perfectly because it's, you know, it's nature and they don't grow perfectly all the time. So let me go ahead and grab the other one. So just to create your little bouquet, I'm going to add a little bit of glue on there. And it's going to be hidden. It's okay if you see a little bit of the glue because the little grouping of flowers is going to be right there on it. So I want to hide this part here. Actually, I want to move this guy over here. And then I've got my flowers. It's going to be partially on the little circle and also on the leaves. So let that stick there to dry. Okay, I'm going to take this one off because that's not matching up like I thought it was. So for this one here, one more set of flowers. I've got a couple already cut. I'll go ahead and glue them together again. So if you wanted, you could put some of our beads in the middle of the flowers because it cuts out the little center. So that would be kind of something you could do also. So you could put the little beads, drop them in the middle. That'd be a little nice little technique. And then I'm going to put that. Actually, let me go ahead and adhere this down first. So with my double-sided adhesive, I'm going to lay this down on here. Oops, it helps if I open it up. Now it's got to be upside down, sorry. So now that the leaves and everything are already hanging off, got that ready to go. I'm going to put these two little leaves on this side. Another one here. And, oops, and with my little grouping of flowers, I'm going to go ahead and put that there like that. While I wait for that to dry, I'm going to show you really quick. I'm not going to do it. I just want to show you how I did the squares. So for the squares, the framelit squares, I took two of the framelit squares, and say I want to cut a little ring. I could go ahead, lay this one, I think it's 3 1/4, and lay this other one on top. And I want to make sure it's going to be steady and not moving when it runs through the machine. And that's when the maker's tape comes in handy perfectly. So once I know it's positioned perfectly on there, I could go ahead, tape that down, and run it through. And you'll know it'll be cut perfectly. So what I did is I did that earlier, and then I did the same technique that I did similar to the ring here, and I did it with the square. So that's something you could do no matter what the size. So say you want to do that instead and do it on this. If instead of using the ring, the circle one, you could go ahead and do it on the square, or you can do both. That's a fun little technique. So that's what I did, and then you could go ahead and put the center instead of the circle. You could put that down there. Ready to go. So this is a little project that I thought that you would enjoy for your tropical box, your July tropical box. colorful, ready for the trip to the tropics, and maybe you're going to be scrapbooking, or you want to send somebody that you went to Hawaii with a photo. That would be great. You could put the photo in the center instead of rubber stamping. And one little added technique that I showed you, to add to this, would be adding a piece of twine. It adds a little rusticness to your, rusticness, is that a word? Adds a little rustic touch to your project. I hope you've enjoyed all the things that we've shared with you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.